those of you who are curious about franchise ownership and wanting to get into, owning your own business via franchising, there is a lot that goes into, like, I'm going to just say it this way, the sales side of franchising. And a lot of times there is wool that's pulled over a potential buyer's eyes. There's, again, like I said earlier, there's some scamming out there that kind of happens. There's some, hey, look, magic tricks, like, hey, look this way and don't look at this thing. I want your attention over here, because they're trying to, in a way, sell a franchise. And so there's a whole lot in there that's like, for you as a potential buyer, really a potential business owner, there's a lot that you need to know and understand about the entire process, so you are well prepared and can go through the process with confidence and clarity. I wanted to kind of show from a high level view, what we mean by discovery process, what we mean by the pathway to ownership. So this is a very, let me say this, generic outline of what a discovery process to finding the right franchise can look like. Okay, there are several steps in it. Right here, and these, like this kind of triangle here you're seeing, this is my process. This is the FranOps process. This is our this is our direct part of the process with you and identifying the perfect franchise fit for you. Okay, now, and then you'll notice from here on is going to be the general process that any franchisor, any brand is going to walk you through as it relates to seeing if you're a good fit for their franchise and if they're a good franchise fit for you. And so we've talked about this a number of times, and we've looked at this at a couple of different live streams in the past. But here is essentially my process, right? We're going to start with a strategy session call and a qualification assessment. We can unpack those later. It's not what today's call is about. And then after you qualify, I'm going to show you which are the best brands for you. That's where I go to work. That's where I do my magic. Is I'm going to identify the top 3 to 5 brands for you. Of those, when you kind of go, hey, I like this brand or these couple brands, and you say, I want to learn more about those ones and do more research about those, I'm going to then connect you with a high quality referral to the direct person you need to talk to. I'm not going to put you through some like big funnel or pipeline of people. I'm going to put you in direct contact with the person you need to discuss about potential ownership of that brand. And that's where then our process begins. Heath, if you could unpack for us, like, why is understanding the various steps of this process, why is that so important for a potential business owner? For them, before they ever get to the process, before they ever look at a brand, why, or what are what's the benefit of them being on this call right now? What's the benefit of them understanding, at least a general understanding of the overview, the discovery process as a whole?
Yeah, I think it's just transparency is the word I always come back to when it comes to the discovery process. And people like to go into something knowing what's next. You never want to be caught off guard by anything. So I think being able to at least see the outline of what a brand's process, and the one that you mapped out is pretty much the same template most brands follow with a little bit of variation between steps. But going in, knowing what to expect, it helps kind of makes you feel more prepared for what lies ahead. And the steps. And then hey, if this is what I'm trying to learn about a brand, I know that 2 calls from now, that's when we're really going to dive into the FDD, or, I'll get to validate, I'll get to talk to franchisees. And so I think like the value of what Jared, you would bring as a broker is helping to make that process more transparent to begin with. Yeah. And then a lot simpler as you go through the steps, because it can be a lot. It's a lot of information, in just a couple of weeks, typically, drinking through a fire hose. So being able to kind of section that out, plan it, and filter that information, I think it provides a lot of value than going in completely blind,
One of the things you said there, I think is super helpful, valuable, is understanding that, and I said too, that that what I had just showed you is a generic process. Every franchise is going to have their own process they're going to walk you through. And none of the steps that I just showed you are, well, I guess one of them is kind of required, but they're not like they have to walk through it in this way, but it is the general process. Like, for example, with every brand being a little different, like I want to show you just a couple of them. This one's a brand called Screen Mobile. We haven't had them on any of the live streams yet, but a great brand to look at. But you can kind of see their process is going to start with a CQ, or that qualification assessment, right? That then it's going to move on to, and you can see the similarities between what I just showed you and theirs. They're going to go do an initial phone call. That's the first step. They're going to do an FDD, a franchise disclosure document review. We'll unpack that in just a second. They're going to go through a review of their entire program. They're going to then hop on validation calls like Keith was just talking about, and we'll share a little bit more too. You're going to then be invited to a discovery day. And then after that, maybe an executive interview. And then from there, you're going to work toward being awarded the right to invest into a Screen Mobile franchise. Or even from there, look at this one is the process of a brand called Teriyaki Madness, one of the best brands out there, especially in the kind of the restaurant or QSR space. But you can kind of see, again, some of the similarities where they're going to have kind of an introduction call. And then from there, right away, though, you'll notice the difference. They're going to give you the franchise disclosure document and have that conversation ASAP. And then they're going to have a longer conversation with you about your goals and your vision. But eventually you'll get to, again, validation calls. You get to something called discovery day. From there, an executive interview, and then you'll be awarded a franchise. This one, last one I'll show you here, is from another kind of QSR brand called Burrito Bar. And they have a kind of a longer, more, I wouldn't say more developed, but a longer a drawn out process where they kind of do it in 4 phases. Phase 1, you'll see some similarities. You'll do an inquiry, but then you'll do the confidential questionnaire. And from there, you'll do a brand overview call, and then another Zoom build out interview call. And then you'll fill out a personality profile, and then the executive interview. And you'll notice nowhere in here have you hopped on validation calls yet? Have you gone through the FDD or the review yet? Because that all happens in phase 2. That's where you then get the FDD. That's when maybe you'll start doing validation calls. You go through that, and then they'll do phase 3. Well, they will start working toward learning about sites and site approval and all that kind of stuff. And so I'm just sharing all that to say the entire process is going to be unique to each individual brand, but I still think there's value in understanding the general steps along the way.